Pilsen? Might the Danish guy ask when he's about to offer you some food. Anyhow, we're talking about Danish death metal here with Konkhra, a band that has been active from all the way early 90s. Now here, late 2024, or now technically speaking 2025, they had the new album out, which comes with a very, very cool, beautiful cover, if you ask me. Sad Plight of Lucifer. And here we have skeletal beings carrying the crosses and whatnot. Now, I don't know, but this is one of the most beautiful cover, in my opinion, so far from year 2024. Let's take a look at this beautiful digipack, a glossy one, and then talk about this band a little bit and their music with this album. As you can see, this is three-folding one. All in all, with kind of a pale brown-gray colors. And then obviously there is a booklet, like it used to be, old school way, meaning lyrics and photos for those who are actual fans of the band, who want more than just the music, even if the music is obviously the most important thing. So beyond streaming services, you have something worth the money, assuming you obviously like the stuff. This is how it looks like, a beautiful release by Hammerheart Records. Thanks to them for this review copy. So Konkhra started already in 1990 with this given name in Denmark, and as such is probably one of the most established name in the Danish death metal underground. What is more curious, in fact, is that unlike so many bands out there, these have a lot of old school members. I mean, all the guys are from early 90s, some even from the very, very early steps of the band, which is not given these days. You probably see more of these bands nowadays, you know, assuming they have 30 plus years of history, when most band members have been replaced by newer guys, like only one or two original members. And here we have four guys, and these have been all the way from 1994 and onwards. Some of them have been out of the band at given times and all, but still. So this is great news for those old school fanatics out there. And when I say underground, I don't literally mean it, obviously. Konkhra is way bigger band than you might think of, actually having tens of thousands of fans on social media and all, so they have really done something obviously right. Now, their discography is not that big, however, given the amount of time they have been around, I mean 35 years, give or take, but they have still quite a few albums. Early on, they started in the early 90s, putting albums out every 2 years, until 2000 came, and suddenly it was 4 years, then 6 years, then 10 years, and now 5 years ago with their previous albums. So they have been active throughout this year without disbanding and all, but let's say there have been some bumps on the road. So, Sad Plight of Lucifer, what can we tell about this album, about 46 minutes and all? Well, first of all, it's death metal. It's a death metal band with a somewhat modern touch these days, which is not that surprising considering how much time has changed throughout the years, how much styles have changed and all that stuff. Now, obviously, death metal territory is in 2024 a little bit different than back in the days, late 80s, early 90s, and so forth. So Konkhra is one of those bands that doesn't sound like, okay, let's do the most brutal and vile album out there ever. So forget everything you know about brutal death metal. This has nothing to do with that. Think about the more modern approach without too much speed in the game, and you know roughly what to expect. Yes, this is more like mid-tempo death metal with a lot of groovier parts in it, and that's roughly what you need to know in order to understand and maybe like Konkhra's music. Now, this mid-tempo death metal then again has some elements which you can slightly put into the world. Are these nu metal references or are they metalcore references? Some might say, nope, don't even go that far. And obviously I'm not going. I mean, this is death metal recording, but there are these moments with the breakdowns and all that, thinking about it, okay, these guys are, you know, shaking the fences between the borders, meaning they sometimes kind of go for a little bit of a stretch outside your typical old school death metal box, and they sound, because of that, somewhat modern. But like I said, this ain't no next slam band, this ain't no some kind of a deathcore band. It's definitely rooted in the old school ways, even if there are some weird or let's say, surprising curveballs coming your way. But mostly this goes with the groove and death metal hand in hand. Grooviness, then again, can mean a lot of things. So now if you're expecting some kind of a groove metal thing, as a thrash relative long distance or whatnot, that's a little bit misleading. So when I say death metal meets groove, it's more like, for example, what, Metal Archives used to describe Torture Killer, death metal groove band. I don't know how Torture Killer is a groovy band in that sense, but that only means or tells the story how much people have hard time figuring out when your basic death metal band goes a little bit outside the typical box without really sounding like other genres. Now, the key take with this album is that it's very, very heavy. And like I said, it's not really fast one. It's solely kind of a dependent on the certain kind of a heavy momentum, which then again translates to those groovier parts. So the guitars are shredding, but nothing too fast, nothing too brutal. And yet at the same time, it does have this kind of a growl vocal thing going on, which definitely makes them sound like a solid take for those who don't really favor all the blast beats or bands going death black and beyond. And in case you're wondering, this isn't really reeking like those death thrash things, so forget everything about that much old school take, which puts us somewhere in the middle of old school and modern ways. Konkhra is kind of like a missing puzzle piece from the 90s in that sense. It doesn't really sound very modern in the deathcore thing or these modern days of death metal, yet at the same time it doesn't really sound like, okay, this is one of those retro things that started copying, bands from the early 90s and all that stuff. And that must be given to Konkhra that at least they kind of stand out from the crowd, because where a lot of bands either go for very, very modern with highly produced and all that stuff, or alternatively, this very retro take, Konkhra is like, nope, we're not running after your trends. We're going to do our stuff, and if you can handle it, well, piss off and all. So those who are fans of the given style, who have been following the band, I think Sad Plight of Lucifer is exactly welcoming news. But I'm going to say this is not for everybody, especially if you're looking for your next extreme dose of death metal. Konkhra might feel a tad bit too tame for that kind of liking. But obviously, you will understand the music and my words way better if you give them a chance. Links are included in the description box. Go and give it a go if you feel like this is your cup of tea. Now off you go and have a great 2025.